Welcome into this week's Coyote Net Report. I'm here with Coach Leanne Williamson. And it's been 2 weeks now of the 10-week season, and despite sitting 1-3, the Coyotes have played 3 5-set matches out of 4. What positives did you take or see from week 1 to week 2?
I think week 1, we were all obviously disappointed in coming back 0-2. As most people have probably heard me say in the past, we do schedule pretty specifically to challenge our teams every single year. And this year we are very fortunate to be playing 2 non-conference weekends. And both of them were able to, I think, really set us up now for the future. So, even though we are sitting at 1-3, I feel really good about where this team is and the strides that we've made as a group just in the short 2 weeks of play. From week 1 to week 2, we were definitely more fearless. And I think anybody who was able to either talk to some of our players, I know they weren't streamed, so most people weren't able to see it, but we just didn't play as aggressively as I'm used to seeing this team play. And with that actually came some more errors as well. So we really honed in on that last week, making it a focus to really play our style of volleyball, make sure that we can stay aggressive, that we can stay fearless in some of the tight situations, the tough situations. And that's one of the biggest things we saw in week 2, obviously playing against a ranked opponent in Creighton on both Friday and Sunday. You can't take plays off. You can't be tentative. The moment you do that, I think the game's over. So, we were able to make a huge switch with that. And so much of this year, it is a different year, and I'm sure you'll hear people say that, but so much of it is still continuing to focus on our side of the net, is making sure that we're the best team that we can be, that we're playing the best defense that we can be, that, offensively and defensively, that we're playing our style of volleyball and not conforming to maybe how somebody else wants to play. This is a very good team. This is a team that I think has the ability to have a lot of success this year. And I feel very grateful, especially at this point, having those 2 weekends to learn what we struggled with, and you don't always see that in your own gym when you play against each other. There's a level of comfort that comes with that. So being challenged in those first 2 weekends was really, really important for us to kind of figure out our strengths, our weaknesses, and how to make some of those switches going into conference play now.
And like you said, back-to-back 5-set matches with a number 14th ranked Creighton, from the thrill of a big road win to a tough home loss to receiving votes in the American Volleyball Coaches Association poll. How much of an up-and-down weekend was it? And it's obviously nice to get recognized by those that do the voting from the AVCA.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, I've had a lot of different people ask me, how much of an up and down roller coaster was this weekend. But really for me, I felt like there were just a lot of ups. We obviously playing on Creighton's home floor, knocking them off in 5 sets, and after starting down 0-2 is extremely difficult. But our team stayed relentless. They stayed very set on what we wanted to do as a team. Obviously, coming away with that win was very exciting. It was something that we were I was very proud of the team for being able to accomplish. And then coming back home, even in the loss, I still feel like there were so many positives that we could take from it. Not only as how we played as a team, it's hard to beat a team like that twice, especially in the same weekend where you don't have time to kind of regroup and, figure out some of those changes that maybe need to be made. You're working a little bit more on small adjustments, and, we came out and won the first 2 sets, and then even sets 3 and 4, there were a lot of positives within it. Set 5 got away from us, but even then we were right there. It was 8-7. I think they went on a 7-point run at the end of the game to finish it up. So, I feel like it was just kind of a very good weekend for us, and something that I think this team needed, again, going into that next weekend of conference. To be able to receive some votes in the AVCA poll is obviously really cool, something that, we're proud of. It's not something that we're taking lightly, but that doesn't mean the work stops here. It doesn't mean we're done making improvements, and, it's not just over for us. We have things that we can continue to get better at, and we're going to keep taking it one day, 1 week at a time, like we always have. And, I think some of those other things work themselves out.
And switching gears a little bit, we talk a lot about on-the-court adversity, but we haven't really touched on the things that you normally do off the court. How has the volunteering you normally do been affected by what's been going on outside in the nation right now?
I mean, obviously, the spring season is where we usually do quite a bit of our volunteering, and that got cut short right away last year when we kind of went into that lockdown kind of mode in March, right at the beginning of March. So, from then really up until now, we haven't been able to do some of those main things that we do. One of the main ones being volunteering at the Ronald McDonald House. Usually we go in and we make meals for the house. We do some cleaning. We helped with actually some demolition and rebuilding of some of the rooms that they were doing up in Sioux Falls. And that's something that has meant a lot to our program of being able to do every year. And obviously we haven't been able to do that. We will definitely start doing that again, once we get the green light. We just have no idea when that's going to happen. So, we try to do the small things. We've got a couple things in-house that we do, gathering shampoos and conditioners and soaps for a local shelter. Those are things that we can still contribute to the best we can, but so much of it right now, unfortunately, I guess, is we have to focus on ourselves a little bit more until we're able to get back out in the community and help out in different ways again.
Speaking of off the court, the team produced a solid 3.65 GPA in the fall semester, second best among all sports on campus. How proud of you are of the girls and the work that they've put in the classroom?
I'm extremely proud. I mean, this group has done a great job really over the past few years now of maintaining a very high GPA. But I think going into, obviously, this year with the pandemic, it just created a whole nother level of adversity and probably a whole nother level of, excitement that we were able to continue to pull that off. And our team is just extremely they're focused. They're a good group of people that understands what it means to be a student athlete. They want to be a student athlete. It's not just about being here to play volleyball. And that's something that I think absolutely plays into the culture that we have tried to develop here. So, they've put in the work. They've controlled what they could. And I think that's really where that starts to play a role is, you can't control everything, but you can control, certain things within yourself, and their grades are definitely something that they can. So they did a great job. It's something that, we do have those expectations as a group of what that looks like every year, and they've definitely lived up to that every single semester, even in the midst of the pandemic.
It was good to be back home inside the Sanford Coyote Sports Center. How about the fans that showed up to the match, given the protocols that were in place?
I mean, it was incredible. I think that's the one thing that, I'm always excited to talk about is I didn't really know what that first game was going to look like, with the different protocols in place, with not having, just really knowing who was going to be able to come out and take advantage of, us playing a really good team too. But it had been, over 13 months since we had played at home. So I know fans were excited to be there, but I've run into a few people either at the grocery store or, just around town. And it's always really exciting to me to hear how much they enjoy it as well. And it's definitely mutual. I mean, I think I know our players love playing at home. I know myself, I love stepping foot out on that floor and seeing and hearing all of our fans. And they've been able to create such a great atmosphere for us, for this team. And that's something that does not go unnoticed. And it's something that we are always very excited about, being able to play at home. And I'm looking forward to throughout the year, just as we work through this pandemic and hopefully as things continue to open up a little bit more, that we can continue to do that, because it absolutely plays a role for us, and something that, like I said, it's probably one of my favorite parts about game day is just hearing the excitement of the fans. And, we go on a run and they get after it. And it absolutely feeds our team some energy. And I feel very lucky to be at a place that has that support for this sport.
Speaking of protocols, if you could touch briefly on how much the team goes through just to make it on the court each week, not only for practice but for games, and the behind-the-scenes role that trainer Jenna Ewer plays in that.
Yeah, obviously I think that everybody's dealing with it to a point, but now that we're back in season, it does, I guess the different roles amp up a little bit. We're getting tested 3 times a week right now. They've got daily wellness checks, Making sure, Jenna, our trainer, knows everything that's going on within our players, whether they wake up with a headache or, they just are tired that day. Those are things that she knows. So she probably never thought she would have that much information on all of our players, but they're doing a lot of work just to make sure that it happens. And so much of that includes, making good decisions and, distancing when we have the ability to, so that we can step back foot on the floor. And I think being out for as long as that we have, and not being able to play games or, being held out of practice, they know what's at stake. And I think they've done a good job, of doing what they can to give themselves the opportunity to play. I think I would be naive to think that we're going to go through an entire season without any issues when it comes to COVID. And that's just something that we're going to deal with as it comes. I think if we get through this season, we can come back and make myself listen to this again and I'll be laughing and that'll be great. But, we're going to prepare at least for, all those scenarios too. But, I have faith that this team, regardless of what happens, we've got the depth on our roster that we can still have success. And it's not going to change up everything if all of a sudden we do have a player or two out. So, like I said, Jenna does a lot. Our team is doing a lot just to try to ensure that we can play matches on the weekend. Really, that's what we've been waiting for, and that's what we're working towards doing every week.
And the Summit League play got underway for the rest of the teams over the weekend that we played Creighton, and now South Dakota will step into conference play as the last team to get into conference play this weekend with a trip to Grand Forks. North Dakota coming off of a couple of five-setters as well against Oral Roberts. What are you looking forward for this matchup, and what's going to be key for the Coyotes this weekend?
Well, I still think that early on in the season, we're going to focus on us more than anybody else. We're going to have a scouting report like we always do, but so much of it is just how we control our side of the net, and that's really kind of what we tried to focus on in weekend 2 compared to weekend 1. Weekend 1, I think we still had that mindset, but I think it got away from us a little bit. And then weekend 2, we really went back and said, hey, we gotta do what the Coyotes do. We gotta serve and pass aggressively, get ourselves in system, run our offense, and obviously serving wise, that can be a huge factor for people. So really, I think it's going to come down to probably who can win the serve pass battle. But you'll probably hear me say that a lot this year. And I've said it a lot in the past too, so it doesn't just change, but I do think that this year especially, that's going to be a huge key for us. They do run their offense a little bit quicker, so that's something that we'll be prepared for, and just kind of have to get used to that pace at that point. But the good news is we've played other people that have played that pace too. So, I think we feel really good about where we're going, and really I think those first 2 weekends helped us get to this point of being confident in this setting of just that we've had some challenging moments, we've had some losses that we could really learn from, and we played some really good teams that showed us what we needed to improve on, which, like I said, ultimately is going to be a positive for us as we move into the conference season now.
And once again, those matches in Grand Forks are at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and again at 1 p.m. on Monday. The Coyotes will be back at home inside the Sanford Coyote Sports Center against Omaha Valentine's Day weekend. You've been listening to the Coyote Net Report with Coach Leanne Williamson.